It's when you look upon Jesus that metamorphosis begins to take place. So things that you didn't have before, all of a sudden they'll begin to come out of your spirit. You won't know before that you have something called long suffering. That is of the spirit, not just the discipline of the flesh. But there is a long suffering dimension which is a fruit of the spirit. As you look at Jesus, after a while, that long suffering dimension is activated. And then no matter what the devil does, you are not moved. You are not just trying to live above sin. You now hate iniquity. You know, when he spoke about Jesus, he said, because thou lovest righteousness and hated iniquity. So when Jesus is walking in the corridor of sin, he's not trying to avoid it. He hates it. That one is a dimension in his spirit. So when a man is metamorphosed, what happens is that elements and dimensions of Christ begins to be activated in him. But the only way metamorphosis can take place is when he begins to constantly behold him. And so we said, in order to bring ourselves to that point where we behold him, we need to find out what or who he is. Well, if you say what, you are still right. Because he's more than a who. You know, when the psalmist went to heaven, he said, what is man that you are mindful of him? He is more than a who. So the only way we can gaze at him is to find out what he says he is. So by the time we are studying what and who he says he is, we will have access to glean certain dimensions of his reality. And I said, when they asked him, he said, I am. They looked at him and said, you are proud. Why are you talking like this? Who do you think you are? He said, Abraham, your father saw my day and he rejoiced in him. He said, you are not yet 50 years old. You say Abraham saw your day. He said, before Abraham was, I am. The Jews understand that he wasn't saying I was. If he said I was, they would have said you are mad. Because we know you are younger than you are claiming. But when you say I am, that means you are saying you are God. Because the first time God left his name as a memorial for every generation, he said, tell them I am that I am. So what he said was that I am Abba. And so the only way you can look at Jesus and understand his full dimension is to find out everything that he said around I am. And so we started a series on the I am to understand all of the dimensions that are captured in the I am. And the first one we considered is that he said, I am the life. And so we said, in I am the life is beyond you just looking at something. It's a dimension that is planted into your spirit. You know, in 1 John chapter 5 from verse 11, it said, little children, I write unto you that you may know that you have eternal life. You that believe on the name of the Son of God, that you may know that you have eternal life. And I said, when a man hears Christ and receives him, there is something, an internal operation that is planted in the spirit. So much so that even if he doesn't have anybody to teach him again, to a very large extent he will become like Christ if he follows the movements of life. Because that life is intrinsic, it's on his inside. Sometimes he will wake up in the morning and that life will tell him to fast. No other person will hear it, but the life is weaved into him so much so that every motion of that life, he will pick it, he can't deny it. Sometimes he will wake up, that life is so precise that the life can tell you, read the book of 1 Samuel. And if you don't read that book, you will lose your peace. You will have fun in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. When you are going to sleep, you now remember with fear, have not read the book. Nobody is supervising you. The life is training you from the inside. When those dimensions begin to happen, you are not seeing it with your naked eye, but it's a portrait of Christ that is being revealed to you. It's showing you the will of God. He's showing you the promptings of God's Spirit, and it's also empowering you to fulfill it. When you understand that that is not just emotion, when you understand that that is not just a feeling, but it's a portrait of Christ revealing itself to you, you will begin to obey it. And as you obey it, after a while, it will become so strong on your inside. A day will come when you want to board a plane, and that life will say no. You will go back to the ticketing center and say, I need my money back. They will say there's no refund. You will leave that money. And sometimes when this life wants to train you well, you will leave that money, you will think the plane will crash. The plane will not crash. You will now start wondering, why did I not leave the money? It's trying to make you know that I'm strong. I'm powerful. The plane will not crash. But the next time that life will speak to you, a breakthrough will open up. Because you may be sleeping. It will say, stand up now and apply for that job. Meanwhile, you checked, you discover you were not qualified. But the life has, the signal came from heaven. You will apply for that job and you will get a contract that you are not qualified for. And then people begin to wonder, how did it happen? It was a journey that looked fruitless, but it was training you onto mastery. Now that you have mastered it, you have become invincible. That's why